Good morning. It is the morning of day 14, and I am in a small town called Cambridge, Idaho. I'm sitting in the back of the hotel that we're staying at. Not very fancy, but we are on a rest day. We've got maybe 3 or 4 big days ahead of us. Big days because lots of climbing, big days because there's rain clouds forming and call for rain for all the days. A fantastic time getting across Oregon. For those of you, my friends in Oregon, you guys live in a beautiful state. I saw places and I just didn't know existed. There's a place called Halfway, Oregon that I want to look into moving to. It was just stunning. This is a hard ride, but it's also interesting to work through relationship stuff. And a couple of nights ago, Kevin just shared some of his experience and some changes he wants to make. And then there's what he said, and then there's what I heard. And unfortunately, what I heard triggered an I'm not enough response inside of me. Just, not good enough, not enough. Was fortunate and kept my mouth shut for the most part, but nonetheless needed to process it. With the help of my wife and daughter and my good friend Allison, really came to understand, there's what people say and then there's what we hear. Kevin doesn't have a malicious bone in his body, so he wasn't trying to hurt my feelings or anything, but I allowed it to hurt my feelings. And fortunately, over the course of our conversation that night, I was able to articulate to him, I might not be enough for you, but I'm enough for me. And I think that's a really important concept. I think it's important for us to know ourselves well enough and to accept ourselves as we are, always growing, but accept ourselves as we are, so that we can confidently say, I am enough, period, or I'm enough for me. I recognize that I might not always be enough for the people around me, but that's actually, I don't think, my responsibility. Anyway, just some navel gazing on being enough and being enough for myself, and then people get to do with that what people want to do with that. The other thing that I have experienced all the way across Oregon, I pray we keep experiencing, is kindness. So when COVID started, all the COVID and political nonsense, which I think is just nonsense, really, wanted to identify what can I control? Like in this scenario, what can I control? And really latched on over the last few years is being kind to people, being good to people, is all I can do. Like that's all that's in with my control. Coming across Oregon, the further you get to the Idaho border, the more the political beliefs change. And so some of those beliefs are quite apparent. But nonetheless, no matter who it is, what I have found is just being kind to people results in them being kind to me. And so I'm happy to sow kindness and reap kindness, and certainly that was true across Oregon. In the pictures, you'll see a gentleman sitting underneath an awning. That gentleman was at a campground that we stayed in the night before last. We rolled in, 4 o'clock, hot, sweaty, had been a long climbing day. We had passed a couple of miles in advance of the last place to buy beers. And so when we got into the campground, rolled up to our spot, there was a tent and that awning set up. And so we're talking about how we're going to set up, and the guy that's in that picture walks up, and I mentioned that we made the mistake of not buying beers, and I turned around and he handed us 2 ice cold beers. And great conversationalist, Keith, hello to you. Thank you so much. You were a very kind gentleman. And so, but he then proceeded to make us 2 hot dogs and allowed us to use his awning when it was raining, allowed us to hang our laundry in his awning, and gave us 6 Oreo cookies and a couple Hostess Ding Dongs and some fig bars, and just a really kind gentleman. Keith, again, thank you. But that was really representative of my experience across Oregon, is people were really kind to us. And so just want to encourage you, in no matter what trials or tribulations our country's facing or you're facing, kindness might be your way in. Being grateful might be your way in to receiving kindness and having people be grateful to you. I hope you're enjoying these blog posts. I hope you enjoyed my daughter's blog post. I certainly did. And I hope that you're out doing something fun yourself this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to you all, and enjoy the ride. I certainly am.